Okay. Once again, students, welcome back to school. Now, for the sake of talking, I'm going to go ahead and take my mask off. Mr. Johnson's about 25 feet away from me right now, so this will be the only time that you'll see me without my mask on, students, because I'll be talking for about 250 minutes. I spoke yesterday, Mr. Johnson, so all right, settle in. Here we go. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't talk that long, but it will be about 50 minutes. So, as students, I do need your attention, and make sure that you're taking note mentally about everything that's going on, because there's obviously a lot of rules that we're going to have to follow being back at school due to COVID-19. And it would be our desire to have school open like we did back in March, but that's not the case right now, and we're so glad to have you all back. And in order for us to have school in person, these are some of the things that we must be doing. Now, anytime you or your family has any questions about our school's reopening plan, you can go to our district website, and the reopening plan, it looks like this. So you can go there, it's right on the front page, and I just want to make sure that you all understand what us as a school district, what we as a school district are doing right now. So we've been on red. So it's like a traffic light. Red, yellow, and green. We've been on red up until yesterday, and red means everybody's learning at home. So we either had students learning remotely on Google Classroom. Some of you are on Odyssey-ware. That's the virtual option. And then some students were on the paper packet version, just NTI. Well, now, the way the virus is behaving, it's enabled us to come back to school, and we're now on yellow. And so we will be on hybrid, and that means that you all today are the students in our B group. So that means that every week you will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then you'll go to school every other Friday. Now, our students in B group, your Friday is this week. So make sure that you look in the district plan, and there's actually the hybrid schedule that shows the exact date. So if you can't keep up, you can't remember which Friday you're supposed to be here, refer to that. So that will be in there. Now, hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to go back to school on green. So like I said, we're yellow right now. We still have a few students that are, and their families have chosen for their child to remain at home, so they'll still be on NTI or virtual. But those that pick the remote option, we're glad to have you all back today. I don't know when or if we'll be able to go to green this year. Now, green means that we'll have everybody at school. We'll have in-person instruction for 5 days a week. Everybody will be here, and this will be very similar to the way school was before COVID-19 caused all this to happen. Now, there'll probably be some elements, probably mask wearing and other things of that nature that will happen when we go green, but whatever those stipulations are, that's what we will be doing. Now, let me go over NTI expectations. And so, obviously, with our B group, you all will be here 3 days this week and 2 days next week. And there'll be some days that you won't be at school. And so just let me be clear about what the expectations are on the days that you are not at school. Those are still instructional days. The days that you are not physically present in our building, it's still a school day for you. And so our teachers will be giving you work to do on those days that you're not here. So we expect you to follow, be on a routine, follow a schedule at home so that you can keep up with your schoolwork. School goes from about 8 until 3 So I would advise you all, as I have my own kids do, to get up and get their schoolwork done starting at 8 o'clock. Just like we had class on remote, you had to log in at 8 o'clock and follow your teacher's instructions and watch the videos. And then after lunch, you had some work to do. It's a little bit different, but similar, in that you will have work to do on the days off. And you are fully expected to complete 100% of that work. There is no reason whatsoever for any student here not to get that work done. And it is most definitely unacceptable for you not to have that work done. You are still a student on days that you're not at school, and you need to get your work done. We need you to value your education. We need you all to work hard. We need you to understand the importance of being intelligent, of being a problem solver, of being a good thinker. And if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't use your brain to figure out the things that we're trying to teach, that's simply not going to happen. We want you to be successful. In order for you to be successful, you must do what successful people do. You must do what successful students do. And successful students, they give their best effort. They truly think about things. You may come across some things that are difficult. You may come across some content that makes you scratch your head, but then you need to reread. You need to try your best. And if you make mistakes, that's okay. That's how you learn, by making mistakes. But let's be crystal clear about our NTI expectations. You are to do 100% of your work and have that ready when you return to school on the next day that you're supposed to be here. So today, your teachers will be giving you some work to do, and it needs to be 100% done when you return to school on Thursday this week. Now, likewise, if we happen to go back to red, if we have a coronavirus issue within our school or within our county, there's the possibility that we could go red again, that we could go back to remote instruction. So for any of those students that were virtual, that you were on OdysseyWare, if we were to happen to go back to red, you will now be on the remote option. You will not be back on OdysseyWare, because if you're here, you're letting us know that I'm coming back to school whenever I have the chance to. If that's the case, you need to be on remote. You need to be on Google Classroom and listening to your teacher's instructions and their lessons, as opposed to being on OdysseyWare. OdysseyWare and what our staff are teaching are similar, but they're not taught in the same order, and it would be best, it is most definitely best, if you are on the remote option from this point on, and you will be. The virtual will not be an option for you all as long as you continue to say you're going to come to school. Now, for everybody else, and if we do go back to red, once again, you're expected to follow that schedule and to get all of your classwork done. I'm just going to be honest with you all. The work that we've seen from a good portion of our students back in the spring with NTI, it was not good. In fact, it was pretty abysmal, to be honest. The work that we're giving now, the work that has been given out, is new content this year. And so we expect the same type of effort that you would give at school. That's what we need you to do at home. So the effort level must improve with our NTI. We must raise the bar, and students, you must raise the bar, because in the end, you're just shortchanging yourself. You know, our teachers are going to be teaching content no matter what, and don't be left behind on this. You know, you've got to value your education. You've got to work hard, and it makes me worry about those students that have ignored what you know you should be doing. So that must improve. Okay, so when we are here at school, COVID-19 is requiring us to do many different things. we have to keep you all socially distanced. That means at least 6 foot apart when possible. Now, right now in your classes, I think our class sizes are pretty good to where we can socially distance you in class. So you'll see some blue marks on the floor in each of your classrooms, even in the cafeteria. It means we have those desks at least 6 foot apart. Students are required to wear a mask at all times when you are at school. So this is one of the biggies. When you wear your mask, it needs to be worn properly. That means it needs to be covering your nose. So when a mask is on, it needs to be on like this. The nose is covered, the mouth is covered. And I don't think any among us desire to wear a mask. But we gotta keep one another safe. You know, you're going to hear me say this a lot this year. Be nice, be kind, be respectful to one another. And by us wearing a mask, that's the ultimate way we're showing people we care about them. Because wearing a mask, this is what keeps our germs to ourselves. You know, if we're wearing our mask like this, we got some potential virus that could be coming out of our nose, and definitely like this. I mean, yeah, you could say I'm wearing a mask, but I'm not wearing it appropriately. This is how a mask needs to be worn. And so the purpose for wearing a mask really is for if someone were to have COVID-19 or to have, the flu or anything, really, this keeps your germs in. So it's really important for all of us to keep that mask on, particularly if you have COVID and you don't know it. That's when it's effective. That's what makes mask wearing effective. It's not necessarily for those that don't have it. It does provide some layer of protection, but it's to keep those germs and droplets to ourselves. COVID-19 is airborne. That's how the majority of people catch it. The vast majority of people catch it. It's airborne. So it's not really through contact for anything on a desk or any object that we might be touching, but it's airborne. Therefore, we need to be wearing masks. We will be cleaning desks in between classes. And students, we're asking for your help with that. Your teachers will give you directions on how we need to clean and sanitize desks in between classes. We will be wiping and sanitizing desks in between each lunch period as well. Also, our custodians will be hourly cleaning the restrooms. Seating charts. In each of your class, you will have a seating chart. Also at lunch, we will have a seating chart. So this is for contact tracing purposes. If a student or staff were to be diagnosed with COVID-19, we can then go to the seating chart to see who potentially could have been exposed, and then the health department will be contacting those people that could have been exposed to COVID-19. Now, students, when you go to lunch, today you'll get to pick where you want to sit for lunch. But from this point on, that will be your assigned seat at lunch. Now, when you get in there, you can take your mask down when you're eating, when you're drinking. But once you are done eating and you go and put your tray up, that mask needs to go back on. And then it must stay on the remainder of the time that you're in the cafeteria. I don't care if you're turned around and talking to friends around you, but your desks need to stay where they're at. You can't move them around, but just make sure we're following those protocols when we're in the cafeteria. When you're waiting in line to get your food, make sure that you stay 6 foot apart as you're waiting in line. And as I said earlier, we'll be dismissing classes down in a staggered fashion so that we don't have too many students waiting in line for their food at one time. Now, visitors this year, parents and visitors will have very limited access to our building. If your parents need anything, they need to call us as opposed to just dropping by. But parents, grandparents are not allowed to come and eat any meals with you all. So school's going to be, with COVID-19, this is one of the restrictions we have to put in place. Now, when you come to school, as when you get on the bus, you're going to have your temperature checked. So any student with a 100.4 temperature or greater, you cannot come to school. Now, if we take your temperature initially and you have a 100.4 temperature or more, we'll give you a second. We'll be able to rescreen you, and so you may have to remain in your car, and then we'll come over a few minutes later and check your temperature again. But if on that second reading it's still 100.4 or greater, you must go home. You will not be allowed in school. And at that point, you need to go to your doctor and follow your doctor's instructions after that. So once again, all students must wear a mask when you're in the school building. And then also we have hand sanitizer all throughout the building. It's one of the big things. The two big things, really three, that we can do is wear masks, keep our hands clean. So when you go to the restroom, you go to the bathroom, wash your hands with soap and water. So just putting water on your hands, that's not cleaning your hands. You got to use soap. And then use hand sanitizer when appropriate as well. And then social distancing. So we'll be definitely doing those things throughout the school year. We still have sports going on. There's obviously safety procedures that your coaches will share with you with that. Once again, talked about masks. Now, if at any time that you happen to test positive for COVID-19, you get sick, your parents take you to get tested, and you find out that you're positive for COVID-19, I need your parents to call the school and tell me. I'm Mr. Schrader, by the way, Chip Schrader. I'm the principal, and I need to know that because I've got to report that to our superintendent if we have any COVID-19 cases in our building. At that time, that's when the contact tracing will take place. But please let me know as soon as possible if you ever test positive for COVID-19. At that time, those students that are positive, there'll be a mandatory self-isolation period that you will not be allowed to come back to school from about 10 to 14 days. And then also, you have to be 24 hours fever-free without being medicated before you can come back to school, and you've been cleared by your doctor. So once again, students, if you have had COVID-19 and you're wondering when you can come back to school, there's 3 criteria that you have to meet. 1, it's been at least 10 days since your first symptom, and it's been 24 hours since you've been fever-free without taking any medicine, and number 3, you've been cleared by your doctor. Now, the vast majority of our students are not going to get sick this year. You're not going to get COVID-19, but some of you are still going to get sick. And there's nothing you can do about that. But here's what we need you to do. If you're sick, you don't need to come to school. And when I say sick, that means you have a fever, you're vomiting, things of that nature. So, if you do not have COVID, here's when you can come back to school. When you've been fever-free and symptom-free for whatever it is that you have for 24 hours without fever-reducing medicine. Now, all this goes for our teachers as well. So that's our COVID-19 policies and procedures. Now, make sure that we follow those, and this is, once again, what enables us to come back to school. Now I'm going to go over our student handbook. In our student handbook, students, you'll be able to find that on our school webpage at any time. If you want a physical copy of it, let your teachers know, and we'll be glad to get you a physical copy of this handbook as well. But this pretty much summarizes what our rules and expectations are for our students while at the middle school this year. Attendance, now with COVID-19, we understand that attendance could be rough for some of you, particularly if you have to quarantine for a couple of weeks. And it is what it is, but make sure that if you go to the doctor, if you go to the dentist, that you're bringing a doctor's note back. One thing that has not changed is the number of parent notes that are allowed. Each student is allowed 6 parent notes for the year. Now, 1 parent note covers 1 day. So really what I'm saying is you have 6 days that can be covered by a parent note. Our expectation is for you to be at school, if at all possible. So if your family has any vacations planned, you need to plan those vacations during fall break, spring break, Christmas, not during the school year. So we need you to be here. We talked about if you want to be successful in school, you need to do what successful students do. Successful students are at school. Now, if we have any student that gets to 6 or more unexcused absences, you'll be having a conversation with our assistant principal, Mr. Schroeder, and we'll probably have a truancy diversion meeting. And because the Kentucky state law says if a student gets to 6 unexcused absences, they're considered habitually truant. Now, we'll be looking more closely at everything, take into account COVID-19 this year. But if we have a student that's really accumulating unexcused absences, you run the risk of having truancy charges filed against you, having to appear before a court-designated worker, and or potentially being referred to the alternative school if you choose not to come to school without any excuse. So you do need to be here. And if you do miss students, make sure you bring a note in, a doctor's note, dentist's note. If there's been a death in the family, if there's any issues dealing with the court system, those are excused. If we need you to be at school on time. School starts at 7:54, and really, I would like everybody to be here by 7:45. We had some students that came in late today, beyond 7:54, and students that come in past that time, you are tardy for the day. Make sure that you are here. If we have students that habitually show up late to school, there are potential consequences for that. If you're continually showing up late to class, late to school, then you could be put in ISAP. It's just part of being responsible. We all have expectations. We all have things we have to do, and that includes being at work, being at school on time. And it's just saying I overslept. That's quite simply, that's not a good enough excuse. You will be marked an unexcused tardy for that day. If you do have a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, please have your parents make those as late in the day as possible or as early in the day as possible so that you can be at school. And if you do have an early doctor's appointment, you need to come back to school once that doctor or dentist appointment is over. There's absolutely no reason for you to miss the entire day if you have an 8 a.m. dentist appointment. You need to be at school, and we expect you to come back to school on those days. So backpacks. Now in the past, we've allowed students to bring backpacks to school, but we made you put them in your locker. Well, that's not the case this year. We are not handing out lockers. We're not assigning lockers to students due to COVID-19. We would have too many students gathering in the hall if that were the case. So students, you are allowed to bring backpacks and carry backpacks between your classes. You don't have to have a D-ring binder for every subject right now, but you need to have some way of organizing your papers. You need to have, I would say, a D-ring binder with paper in it, and then you need to have enough folders for each of your classes. And then you need to make sure you have pencils. Now, everything else will be provided to you at school. If there's any textbooks, any books you're going to be reading, any handouts, we'll be providing those to you. We have calculators at school. If you want to get a calculator and bring your own calculator, that would be fine. But we will have backpacks. You are allowed to carry backpacks. Now, we can search backpacks, purses at any time. If we hear that students have something that they shouldn't have, We can search students' belongings if we have reasonable suspicion that you have something that you shouldn't have. And we will have occasional backpack checks in the morning when you come into school. Students, the school, our doors open at 7 o'clock, and we need everybody to be gone, to be on the way home by 3:30. So if you're being picked up in the afternoon, students, your parents, your guardian, whoever's picking you up, they need to have you picked up by 3:30 each day. We do expect our students to treat one another with respect. Be nice, be kind, be respectful to one another. Obviously, bullying is not included in any of those three things I just said. It's not nice to bully. It's not being kind. If you're being mean to someone, it's most definitely not respectful to be bullying someone. Now bullying is creating an atmosphere of hostility towards somebody by the words that you use, mean, hateful words. It could be physically intimidating someone, and that's simply not allowed. And that's pretty despicable for somebody to act like that. We will be good people here at Ohio County Middle School. It's the right thing to do. That this is who we should be. This is not something I really need to be saying, because it should be coming. We know this in our heart, how we should be as people. And we need to value one another. We need to respect one another. But I and Mr. Schroeder and our staff will not tolerate bullying. Now, there'll probably be a few of you out there that will do that, and we'll deal with you. But I expect it not to happen. There's actually no reason for this to happen. Now, if there is something going on, please let a staff member know if you're not being treated appropriately. We can't help someone if we don't know what's going on. So you need to let us know so that we can help you in that situation. Students, if you're going to be going home with someone, you're going to be riding a different bus, we do need to have a bus note for that day. Please make sure you bring that and turn that in at the office first thing in the morning. We talked about the cafeteria, what's going to be going on in there. Students, you can bring your lunch, but there is a free lunch, a free breakfast provided to everybody each day that we're at school. Now, if there's someone that, if you don't want your lunch and there's a buddy or somebody that would like seconds, there's no reason. You can go ahead and get your lunch and give it to someone if you want to. So think about your fellow classmates. If they want a little something extra and you have not received your free lunch for the day, your free breakfast, go ahead and get that and then just give it away to somebody. That is totally acceptable to do that. Cell phones and electronic devices. Students, you can bring your cell phones to school. Here is when you can have your cell phones out. You can have your cell phones out before school starts, so that would be in homeroom if your teachers are allowing at that time. Your teacher might have an activity that they want you to be working on. If you have any homework that needs to be completed, that phone needs to be put up. But if your teacher says it's okay, you could have your cell phone out during homeroom. You can have your cell phone out during break. You can have it out during lunch. And then obviously after school. Now, all other times, your cell phone must be turned off and be put up. So that means when you have your phone, it doesn't need to be in your hand walking down the hall. It doesn't need to be within holding your books. It needs to be in your backpack or in your pocket and out of sight. And once again, it needs to be turned off. Now, if at any time your teacher is having an activity that requires you to use your device, they're going to tell you about that, and that is acceptable at that point. But if you're not following the cell phone rules, your cell phone will be confiscated. You will get it back at the end of the day, but we'll confiscate your cell phone and leave it in the office. And follow the cell phone rules. It's pretty easy. I've given you the times you can use it. If you're going to be using the cell phone at any other time, it will be confiscated. I don't want to see those cell phones out in the hall. Make sure that you do bring back the paperwork that's been given to you at the beginning of the year. We need your enrollment forms. We need your free reduced lunch form filled back. Please get those in as soon as possible. Student conduct, I pretty much covered that with bullying a while ago, but our students really behaved themselves well at Ohio County Middle School, and I expect that to continue this year and in years to come. Once again, be nice, be kind, be respectful to one another, and when we do that, things go really well at school. When we don't do that, or students that don't do that, they willingly bring issues and problems into their life. Conflict arises. If you're not doing your work, there's going to be consequences that come. So if students that do not follow rules at school, then we have in-school suspension where students will be put in there. And then if students continually not follow school rules, you could be sent to the alternative school. So that's the Render Center. Any student that's sent to the Render Center, you're probably going to be over there at least half a school year. We don't want to do that. It's our desire to keep everybody here at Ohio County Middle School. But if we have any student that makes a mockery of school rules, that thinks they don't have to follow them, then number one, you're not learning, and number two, you're creating an environment where other students cannot learn as well, and therefore those students will be removed and sent to the alternative school if you're going to be that disruptive. That's a decision, that's my decision, and once that decision is made, that's where that student will go. So please act right. Please conduct yourself appropriately. Please be respectful at all times and follow your teacher's instructions. We're going to have a really good year, and the vast majority of students will be doing that. But that's our expectations. We also expect all of our students to follow the dress code. Obviously, we're going to be wearing masks this year as part of our dress code. But listen up. So these are things we do not want to see on any shirts or jackets, masks. No visible graphics, signs, symbols, logos, or tattoos, or scenes that display or promote any disruptive, harmful, or illegal activities such as and including violence, drugs, gangs, sexual activity, nudity, hateful messages, or tobacco or alcohol use. So included in that is the rebel flag. Do not wear anything that has the rebel flag on it, including masks, shirts, or whatnot. We don't need to be seeing that in our school. You can have backpacks this year, but students, you can't wear any bulky or heavy jackets. No hats, no caps, no bandanas will be worn at school. No sweatbands, no gloves. No need for you to wear gloves at school. No sunglasses. If you do have another bag for football or soccer, any sport, you will put those bags in the back of the media center this year. No heavy metal chains or necklaces, like really big thick chains. No wallet chains or other substantial chains attached to clothing. The only piercings that are allowed are for your ears. So only ear piercings are allowed. No nose piercings, lip piercings. Those are not allowed at school. Not only at our school, but any school in our district. We've had a few students in the past that, for whatever reason, even though it's very clear when we say no piercings other than the ears, we had a few decide to get their nose pierced. Well, those students have had a lot of time in school suspension. Had some students say, well, I've got a clear post in my nose. No piercings other than in the ears. If you do want to get your nose pierced, you need to do that on your own time during the summer. But no nose piercings will be allowed. You cannot wear those at Ohio County Middle School. Shirts need to be appropriate. Shirts need to have sleeves on them. Your shoulders need to be covered at all times. Most of these apply to our girls that are here. Shirts need to fit appropriately. Shirts do not need to have any plunging, no plunging line down here. They do not need to be revealing. Pants are to be worn at waist level. Pants cannot sag. And then shorts. Your shorts need to not be too short, shorty shorts, if you will. So if we see any skin more than 3 inches above the knee, then those shorts are too short, and you don't need to wear those to school. Also, holes in pants. If there's any holes in your pants more than 3 inches above the knee, then you're showing more skin than what you need to be showing at school. Because if we start having holes more than 3 inches above your knees, that's skin that does not need to be shown. It's not appropriate. Once again, if you want to be successful, you want to do what successful people do. And our appearance is very much a part of being successful later on. It shows dignity. It shows it's just the right thing to do to look appropriate. If you have any questions about the dress code, make sure that you ask questions about that. Leggings are another thing. Girls, if you wear leggings, then make sure that you wear a shirt that covers your back end. Leggings are obviously very form-fitting pants, and if you're going to wear the leggings, then you need to wear a shirt to cover yourself appropriately. So moving on, I think this goes without being said, but drugs and alcohol are not allowed. Obviously, cigarettes, dip, vaping products are not allowed. Trouble will come and consequences come for students that have any of those products at school. Most of those require automatic referral to the alternative school, particularly drugs and alcohol. That's a no-brainer. That's you're going to be sent out of here just like that if you have any drugs or alcohol. There will be substantial ISAP time for students that bring any alcohol or vaping products to school. Any tobacco or vaping products to school. Drugs and alcohol, automatic suspension or automatic referral to the alternative school. Food and drink brought into the building. Students, listen up. Do not bring McDonald's, Hardee's, any breakfast foods into the building. Not allowed to do that. We have breakfast for you at school. If you want to eat those breakfasts before you come to school, that's fine, but you just can't bring it into the building. Our school district participates in the federal breakfast and lunch program, and part of the rules we have to follow is no competing foods can be brought into the building. So that's why that we need to follow those rules like that. So if you do bring in McDonald's cups, Hardee's cups, we're going to ask you to throw that away immediately. So therefore, it's best to take care and drink those products before you enter into the building. If at any time a student, you feel like that you're not being treated appropriately, you're being harassed, you're being discriminated against, you're being bullied, you have the right to file paperwork against that individual that is creating that atmosphere of hostility towards you all. Once again, as I said, everybody deserves to be treated appropriately, and that's what we expect. And that's how we're going to treat you here at school, with respect and dignity. We covered homework a while ago. Whatever our teachers assign you as homework, you need to get it done. If we're not seeing homework brought back, you're going to have zeros entered into Infinite Campus. So that's one way that you can check your grades frequently, is through Infinite Campus. Get that app on your phone, students. Make sure your parents have that app on their phone. They can check your grade anytime. And really, there's no reason for us to ever print progress reports or report cards, honestly, because you can look at your grades at any time on Infinite Campus. But for our athletes, you definitely need to make sure you keep your grades up. Any kid that's participating in sports, any student that has an F, you're ineligible for the week. Any student that has 2 or more Ds, you are ineligible for the week. We run eligibility reports on Monday, and if your name is on that report, you are ineligible for the remainder of that week until we run the next grade report on the next Monday. So we have some kids that try to get teachers to put grades in after they see that they have an F in a class, and they're like, "Oh, can you get this graded and turned in and get in Infinite Campus, and then maybe I'll get to play." No, you won't get to play that week. You've got to keep your grades up to begin with. The whole point of coming to coming to school is to do well. And quite frankly, school's easy, folks. School's real easy. If you're putting the time and effort into it, there's no way that a student's going to fail. If a student has an F in a class, it's because that you have totally neglected your duties and responsibilities as a student, and you're reaping what you've sowed. So don't expect to get to play sports if you're not going to put forth any effort in class. If you're not learning at school, you're probably not learning what your coach wants you to do either. Stay up with your schoolwork. Our media center will be open and available for library checkout. Mr. Johnson will be getting with teachers as far as when students can come down to the media center. We will have after-school tutoring, that's called ESS, that will be starting up before too much longer. We covered NTI instructions and what our expectations are. We probably won't have any snow days this year. If it does snow and we're still on yellow, or if we're on green, there will be NTI days for those days due to any weather situation. Going to the nurse. Students do not need, our nurse is available for, if we do have a student that gets sick, if you get ill during the day, she'll be checking your temperature. But we need to go to the nurse if you need to go to the nurse. There's no need to go down there. I need to get a cough drop. You don't need to go to the nurse to get a cough drop. You don't need to go to the nurse for any vague reasons. But if you're sick, yeah, you need to go to the nurse, because once again, if a student is sick, then we're going to send you home immediately. But she does not have the time to deal with frivolous needs that some students have shown in the past. And quite frankly, it's a waste of her time. We don't need to do that. And teachers will be making judgment calls on if you go to the nurse or not. They'll be filling a form out, and then students will be called down to the nurse if she needs to see you. But her time is going to be tied up quite a bit this year with COVID-19 type issues, and so we need to use the nurse when we need to, and not abuse the privilege of going down there. Now, students, you should not text your parents to come and get you if you're sick. If you need to go home, we will make the call for you to go home. You're not a nurse, because we've had too many students in the past that have, quite frankly, lied about issues like that, and that's not right. If you're sick, our nurse will check you out, and then she will make the determination if you need to go home or not. Students, there's no public displays of affection, no holding hands, no kissing, no no physical contact needs to be made with from student to student. It's okay to have a boyfriend, girlfriend, perfectly normal in middle school. But the hand-holding, personal display, public displays of affection are not acceptable at school. When we change classes, you need to go to class. You don't need to be waiting around for your boyfriend or girlfriend. They're perfectly capable of getting to class without you being with them. This day and age with COVID-19, when classes are dismissed, you are to go straight to your next class, period. PE, we'll still be able to have our PE classes. You need to actively participate. Your physical health is important. We need students to exercise on a daily basis. Too many of our students do not exercise on a daily basis. You need to take care of yourself. But Coach Decker will be going over the rules and regulations for PE when you get in there. Students that go to the restroom, remember our restrooms are cleaned on an hourly basis. So if you need to go to the restroom, just ask. If you have time to go in between classes, that's acceptable. You will be supervised at all times. Textbooks will be given out in class, and we've gone over visitors. And so I think that's about it. So teachers, if I've missed anything and you need to reemphasize anything, feel free to do so at the conclusion of this video. And with that being said, once again, I'm glad to have all of you all back. And we do expect all of our students to work hard this year. We desire to be back in school without as many regulations as possible. And that's what we want. There's nothing more than I'd like to have regular school. It saddens me to have our cafeteria have desks in there. I would prefer to have our tables in there. But students, just understand that there are rules and restrictions that we have to follow right now, because more than anything, we want to keep you all safe and we want to keep you all healthy. And with the cleaning, with the masks, the social distancing, that's how we can keep you safe. And we ask that you show care and concern for one another by following these rules that we have in place this year. And likewise, and equally just as important, work hard, all right? Value knowledge, value intelligence. We want you to learn to be good thinkers, to be good problem solvers. That's what we want you to do, because we want you all to be successful later on in life. And you must be educated in order to do that. When you're in school, you're choosing two things, really. You're either choosing knowledge or you're choosing ignorance. Students that choose to work hard in school choose knowledge. Students that think school is a waste of time, that do not put forth any effort, those people choose ignorance. And we don't want that. And that's a bad way of thinking. All right, you need to change your way of thinking if that's how you value school. But we want you all to value your education. We're here to work hard to give that to you. So with that being said, teachers, I'll turn it over to you all from here. And we will go back on our regular schedule at 4th period. So take care, have a good day, and we'll see you all around. Thank you.